I'm Kristen Oaks-White.
And I'm Avery Davidson. Thank you for joining us for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture, the only TV show bringing Louisiana farmers and consumers together every week.
Well, we begin our show with some sad news. For the second time in as many years, we have lost a member of This Week in Louisiana Agriculture. Reginald Wallace, the man who began TWILA 35 years ago, died last week. He was 81.
Reg's passing comes just more than a year after the death of Michael Dana. Dana was Reg's successor, not only in hosting TWILA, but also as director of the Louisiana Farm Bureau's Public Relations Department. Joining us now is TWILA News Director Neil Melancon. Neil, we all got a chance to know Reg and even be on the air with him, but you have the unique position in that you actually worked with Reg.
I did. Reg was responsible for hiring me, and even though Mike Dana was the guy who interviewed me, Reg was the head of the department at the time and had the ultimate say-so. He fostered an internship program, and that was just one of the many, many ways in which Reg leaves us with a legacy in both journalism and agriculture.
Without ever seeing his face, you knew it was him.
And I know the farmers are wanting some sunshine right now, and so
Reginald Wallace was known as the voice of Louisiana agriculture. His passing marks the end of an era where this show, and many other ways the story of farming is told in Louisiana, took root. This Week in Louisiana Agriculture is still going strong 35 years after Reg began it in 1981, but the show had its start as part of an effort to reach the public from every medium possible.
Farm Bureau has been around for almost 100 years in Louisiana. There have been a lot of people who have done public relations efforts, but it was Reg Wallace who really set up the public relations information department as we know it today.
Martin has taken over from Michael Dana, Reg's direct successor. Dana oversaw the introduction of web and social media presence to Farm Bureau's outreach, but it was Reg, with his farming background, who spurred the innovations we see today.
Farming was so much a part of Reg, even though he was a professional journalist. He was always a farmer at heart. He really cared about farmers, he really believed in what they were doing, and he really wanted to tell their story.
Reg's love of farming would stay with him all his life. In the summers, he would come home from Louisiana College to work in his father's cotton fields. It would be back home in Franklin Parish where he would discover his other love, broadcasting.
I was a student, as you said, at Louisiana College, and I came home in the summer, and Buddy Martin, who owned, he and his dad owned the auction barn in Delhi, and my dad knew him and everything, and I went out and asked Buddy Martin for a job that summer, and so he gave me the job.
From the humble beginnings at the auction barn, Reg would go on to KMAR radio station, a station he would later return to after his retirement at Farm Bureau. Reg also did radio during a 2-year stint in the U.S. Army, but it would be at a television station in Alexandria where he was noticed by the Louisiana Farm Bureau. That set Reg up for the next 30 years of his career, speaking for Louisiana's farmers and ranchers.
Reg had the kind of voice that was very soothing, and it was something that everybody could relate to. And when they started talking about being the voice of Louisiana agriculture, when Reg spoke on the radio, you knew it was Reg.
Reg began his career at Farm Bureau in 1969 and made a big impression on the staff right away.
He probably did more to make me feel comfortable in front of big groups or small groups or whatever, delivering messages than anybody I've ever dealt with.
He worked incredibly hard, doing a lot of different things, from the radio network to the TV show to the newspaper that we did monthly at that time. Things have changed over the years, but Reg was right on the vanguard of whatever that change was. He was always looking to, how can we do this better? How can we improve what we're doing?
I really hit it off with Reg from the beginning, because even though Reg did a lot of things, he did newspaper, television, a lot of different things, in his heart of hearts, he was a radio guy, and so am I. He started out as a radio guy. He ended his career as an old man, as a radio guy. And we really hit it off like that, and that's something I really admired about him.
Part of being on the vanguard of innovation meant bringing the lessons he learned as an ag reporter from KALB-TV to Farm Bureau. Ronnie Anderson was on the state board when Reg proposed doing the TV show, an expensive proposition that at the time had an uncertain outcome.
And everybody had faith that if we would listen to what Reg was recommending and his staff was recommending to move in that direction, that good things would happen, and it did.
Reg would continue to inspire innovation for agriculture even after he left Farm Bureau. He returned home to Winsboro and KMAR Radio in 1997.
I knew of Reg from the different radio shows I would hear him on, but I met him after he came back to Winsboro, and he kind of became a mentor to me about who Farm Bureau is, and I learned a lot about Farm Bureau just through talking to him.
Franklin Parish farmer Scott Wiggers at that time was not heavily involved in Farm Bureau, but with Reg's help as an active member and voting delegate, Wiggers would become second vice president of Farm Bureau.
Reg did inspire me to become more active, and he was such an encourager. He had that about him to really make you feel like, you know, you could do something that was needed, and he was the guy that really inspired me and encouraged me to become more active in Farm Bureau. My relationship with Reginald came after his main involvement with Farm Bureau, and I didn't really realize I was in the presence of the greatness that I was over the years. I knew him as a friend. He wasn't really that personality anymore, but as I've reflected on his career, I've come to realize I really walked in the presence of greatness.
Greatness is a legacy that can be seen all over Farm Bureau, including in Reg's successor, Mike Dana, who interviewed Reg shortly before Mike died in 2015, 4 months after this interview was taken. Tragically, Reg would pass a year later himself.
The way they were dedicated to their job and to the organization and to Farm Bureau as a whole, it's a tremendous loss to lose both of them, and to lose them that close together is a tough thing. Their contributions will last forever, but we will really miss the fact that they're not here with us.
And so in remembering this farmer, broadcaster, leader, father, grandfather, husband, and friend, we remember the agriculture and media roots he came from and the fruit it bore. And as Mike Dana said in his final interview with Reg in 2014, we are the recipients of what he planted for the next generation.
Today, This Week in Louisiana Agriculture is broadcast on 18 statewide affiliates and nationally through RFD in Nashville. 400,000 viewers a week watch that show. Did you ever think that This Week in Louisiana Agriculture would not only be a statewide phenomenon, but we get emails from viewers all over the country every week? Does that surprise you?
I did, yeah, it did. I never dreamed that big. Mike Dana had to dream that big and set that up, you know. I never dreamed it would be.
Well, we stood on your shoulders, that's for sure.
Something that was hard to show with this story is Reg's sense of humor. As you saw him laughing with Mike there, he was always coming up with jokes of one kind or another with everyone he worked with. With me, he had me as this kind of mastermind behind LSU football and the Ag Center and Farm Bureau and the government. And, you know, guys, he was always asking me, you know, about what I was going to do with Coach Miles one week and the governor the next, you know, as though I had any control over that. One thing that really did strike me when I did the research for this story is just how far back Reg went at the very beginning of media. You know, a lot of this stuff as a pioneer was literally because none of it had been done before ever. Not just the Farm Bureau television show, but television as a whole was new when he was coming up.
Yeah, and what I think about is just how much confidence he had to have to go before the Louisiana Farm Bureau Federation Board and ask for all of that money for one camera, one set of editing equipment, and that was pretty much it. And it changed the way not only we report agriculture here in Louisiana, but I really think it had an impact nationwide. When you look at all the other programs that came up to follow.
And the big thing there is, I think a lot of that confidence came from his agricultural roots once again. You know, the media was not some some up-and-coming thing like it is today with social media and that kind of thing. It was really rooted in telling the story that he did with his family every night around the dinner table, just magnified by, you know, however far the media could reach. And it was part of the community. It was part of agriculture. He was a broadcaster for baseball. So this was all, you know, these things that were really part of his day-to-day life. And it just expanded into something that, as you heard him say, he couldn't even foresee.
Yeah, he will be missed. Thank you very much, Neil Malasaw. $10 million. That's how much the flood of 2016 will cost Louisiana farmers and ranchers, according to the LSU Ag Center.
More than 2 feet of rain fell on parts of Louisiana in early March, flooding fields and leaving cattle stranded with no forage. LSU Ag Center economist Dr. Kurt Guidry initially estimated damage at $5 million, but now says that with the cost of replanting corn, the yield losses associated with the flood, and the relocation of livestock herds, the final tally could be more than $15 million in losses. Guidry says floodwaters covered upwards of 55,000 acres of corn and that 400 head of livestock died in the flooding. Of course, we will not know the full scope of damage until after harvest.
In a rare public appearance, former Cuban leader Fidel Castro told the 7th Congress of the Communist Party that leadership will not change soon. At 90 years old, this may be the last time he addresses the 1,000-member body, which meets every 5 years. This contradicts previous reports that Castro's brother, Raul, announced he would step down in 2018. According to a report on National Public Radio, experts believe this is in direct response to President Barack Obama's recent visit, invigorating the private sector in Cuba, which employs about a quarter of the workforce. With hopes of establishing agricultural trade with the island nation, a group of ag leaders from Louisiana and Arkansas traveled to Cuba. Last week I showed you how free enterprise is already a major part of Cuba's agricultural sector. This week we look at the culture of our neighbor 90 miles off the Florida coast and what you could gain from the people of Cuba. The festive sounds of this motley crew welcome these visitors from Louisiana and Arkansas to Old Havana, an area that looks, sounds, and feels a lot like the French Quarter in New Orleans. The area's art and architecture provide Merrill Kennedy with one of the tools she needs to sell rice in Cuba.
I think that you have to understand the culture of Cuban people and of Cuba to understand how to negotiate, how to see how we can open up things or communicate with people, how to understand their culture.
It's a culture where education and healthcare are paramount, as demonstrated at the Cuban Center for Genetic Engineering and Biotechnology. It's here where Congressman Ralph Abraham of Louisiana and Rick Crawford of Arkansas learn about drugs created in Cuba that make cattle resistant to ticks with 90% effectiveness, heal diabetic foot ulcers, which reduced amputations in the country by nearly 80%, and prevent HIV transmission between mother and baby.
Well, like the U.S., they are, I think, also on the cutting edge of biotechnology, and what that offers, certainly in plant and animal production, is increased productivity, disease-resistant species, just better quality food and more quantity for not only Cuba, but for the rest of the world.
Those are the kinds of things that we should focus in on and recognize that there's a value proposition, not just for the Cubans, not just for us, but as we continue to develop this relationship, we certainly can all benefit from this.
Congressman Crawford's Cuba Agricultural Exports Act is still awaiting action by the House Agriculture Committee. He's hoping to get at least 100 co-sponsors before bringing it up for a vote. And he's asking you to contact your congressman to support the Cuba Agricultural Exports Act. One congressman who is supporting Crawford's bill is Louisiana Congressman Charles Bustani. Bustani is a member of the House Subcommittee on Trade. He represents rice farmers in southwestern Louisiana and knows opening the Cuban market would help his constituents.
And the fact is, we should be expanding agricultural exports into Cuba. This will help our farmers across the board, certainly the rice industry, and I think it's time.
Congressman Bustani is hoping to take his support for trade to Cuba to the upper house. Bustani is running for Louisiana's Senate seat currently held by David Vitter. Senator Vitter announced that he would not seek re-election. Still to come on TWILA, we get a little Cajun surf and turf in this edition of Feasting on Agriculture.
Stay with us.
I now hope they're fighting today.
I hope they are.
Find your place in the country and the lender who can get you there. Find Louisiana Land Bank. financing for country homes, recreational property, farms and ranches, and agribusiness.
Farming is my way of life. I chose this career, but farming chose me.
A lot of people ask you what you do, and I tell them I'm a farmer.
I'm a cattleman.
I am a fisherman.
I'm a scientist.
I'm a steward of the land.
I am a farm woman.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I am Farm Bureau.
I'm a Farm Bureau.
Every day across America, excess food is gathered by a network of good people at local food banks, giving hope to millions of children who struggle with hunger. They've earned their wings, and you can too. Together, we can solve child hunger. Support Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Louisiana oysters, salty, sweet, and delicious. But have you ever thought about what happens to all those oyster shells? Most of them end up in trash cans and landfills. The Coalition to Restore Coastal Louisiana is changing this with its oyster shell recycling program. And you can help by visiting these participating restaurants. It's a simple and delicious way to restore our coast. The shells will then be used to sustain and rebuild oyster reefs. Remember, once you shuck them, don't just chuck them.
Well, there's no denying that New Orleans is a destination for foodies, which is why chefs from all around the world flock to the Crescent City.
And when you have a New Orleans chef by way of Ireland who knows how to combine beef, crawfish, and bacon into a delicious meal, you know you need a round two, just like we do in this edition of Feasting on Agriculture.
Feasting on Agriculture with A.J. Sabine is brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board. Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat. By the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board. Think rice. And by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
Diagwitch from the Irish House, New Orleans. I'm A.J. Sabine, and you're about to feast on agriculture.
In an iconic city where it's always time for a pint, Chef Matt Murphy and I meet where you can find plenty of good flavor. The Crescent City Farmers Market. After we get our bearings, the chef from Dublin, Ireland, teaches me a little Gaelic.
So the greeting is say, good morning or how do you do today? It's Diagwitch.
Diagwitch.
You're a pro.
Thanks.
And if you wanted to ask them how they are, so you'd say, Conus Tatu.
What? After my lesson, we made groceries in the market.
I always want to go for the thing that's in season. Right. First of all, there's a lot of it. There's abundance, so the price is usually good. Right? They want to offload a bit, but also it's the right thing to be eaten in that season. Who wants to eat whatever broccoli in the summer? I don't think you're going to find it. You know what I mean?
We fill our bags with locally grown kale, carrots, and Brussels sprouts. Then it's off to the kitchen. We begin with a fillet of beef.
I noticed you let it come to room temperature. Why is that important?
It's the same temperature all the way through. If you don't let your beef, they call it tempering the beef. Means the temperature in the center is the same as at the outside. As I'm going to butterfly this. Basically, butterflying is cutting it right down the center. This, for someone at home, is probably the easiest way to do it. With this, it's easier because people can see where they're at. They'll get a better temperature on a mid-wear with a thinner piece of meat than a larger one. And look, let's face it, we're all coming home. Kids are driving you crazy, or you're back from work and you've got to go back to work. You want to cook this fast. What happens is when you put this salt and you put it in the pan, it helps to caramelize those juices, which means that the juice coming out of it evaporates and you're left with that real rich flavor in the pan.
You ready? Yeah.
Perfect. So we're going to let that sear. As we head again, we're going to move it down. Our beef is cooking. Wait till you see how fast this dish comes together. So if you flip over your meat, you don't want to flip it over on that because it's not going to sear. You want to look for a new piece right here. So when we flip it over, we're going straight on with more heat, right? we're gonna like this.
That's interesting. I never thought of that.
Right? So now you're searing it again, but you're searing the right. It's just about thinking about it. The pan's there. The pan doesn't tell you what to do. You tell it. We're gonna take a little bit of this bacon.
Bacon first?
Bacon. We're gonna go in with the bacon a little bit. Okay. We're gonna go in there. We have some crumbled bacon, some olive oil. I'll let that come down. I'm gonna start taking this in. Okay. I'm gonna go right in there. You can hear that sizzling once that little moisture hits the pan.
When we return,
This is so cool. I'm cooking with Chef Matt Murphy.
I'll show you why you need to feast on agriculture. Stick around, we'll be right back.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
When I get all steamed up, then I shout.
Tip me over and pour me out. Oh. The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Cheers. Take time to be a dad today.
Every day, the San Diego Zoo Global Wildlife Conservancy's dedicated team of scientists and conservationists is working around the globe to save Earth's precious wildlife from extinction. Now is the time to act. You can become a hero for wildlife. And with your generous gift, you can create a path that will help bring animals back from the brink of extinction. Together, with your generosity, we can do even more.
This is the story of a boy who was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. It made him feel uncomfortable. One day, he found out he had something called autism. His family got him help, and slowly, he learned how to live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.
We're going to hit it with a little bit of Magner cider. This is a little cider that we have here. It's got a little good bit of alcohol in it. And we're going to let that cook off. We're going to hit this just with a little salt and pepper. All right. We're going. This is the fun thing. This is going to taste phenomenal.
He's right. That's delicious.
We're going to take this. Look at that. If you put this on the table at home, there's going to be a big fight. There's going to be a wrestling match between whoever's sitting at that table to get at this. So, I put my steak on there. I'm going to put it right here. This is where you just put it in. And we love that nice dairy. And at that market, you know, they weren't there today, but there's a few dairy farmers that come along with their own dairy line. So, yeah, you can just go up there.
So
you can get
basically,
this fresh butter from Louisiana.
So you can get everything you want from soup to nuts at the Crescent City Farmers Market.
Exactly. We're gonna put that crawfish on top here.
No, you're not. Look how beautiful that is.
All right.
You're killing me, Chef.
Yeah. We're gonna want those to come out a little bit, just to fall down, because that's gonna be the first thing that folks want to eat when they see it arrive at the table. So we put that crawfish up there, and we take our sauce, cafe au lait. We're gonna drizzle that around it. I love sauce. Sauce is everything. Sauce is about what food needs to be. And that's our dish right there.
Chef Matt, I can't thank you enough for this wonderful opportunity to visit the Irish House. We've had fun. We've gone to the farmers market. We've got some great produce. And look at this beautiful dish that you've prepared with some of the...
Look at that crawfish. He's like hugging it. See him?
He's hugging
He does not want to let you eat that.
I'm going to dive right in here, Chef. Since you never did say anything about the Brussels sprouts that I chiffonaded for you.
No, they were perfect. The chiffonade was perfect. I must compliment you on it. You're one of the best.
You're just saying that.
In the business, commie chefs, which is the trainee chef, the best commie chef I've had.
This is outstanding. This is outstanding. And for folks who want to get crawfish at home, they can go to crawfish.org, or better yet, you can come here to the Irish House in New Orleans, visit with Chef Matt Murphy here at the Irish House, and have this dish. This is absolutely wonderful, Chef.
It was slancha. Slancha.
Slancha?
No, slancha.
Slancha.
Here we go again, slancha.
Okay, slancha.
Feasting on Agriculture with A.J. Sabine was brought to you by the Louisiana Crawfish Promotion and Research Board. Louisiana Crawfish, ask before you eat. By the Louisiana Rice Promotion Board, think rice. And by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council. Beef, it's what's for dinner.
It's now the time in our show where we go online to see what people were talking about on social media.
Well, the first chickens of Louisiana caused quite a commotion on Facebook this week. Eric Paulson posted 3 photos of the new chicken coops Governor John Bel Edwards built behind the governor's mansion in Baton Rouge.
The post was shared more than 550 times on Facebook and stirred up more than 340 comments. Some commenters angrily questioned how much the coop and the chickens cost Louisiana taxpayers.
The firestorm on Facebook prompted the Times-Picayune to post an article addressing the coops and clarifying that the governor paid for the coops out of his own pocket. And on that note, moving on.
Kristen, I'm going to let you finish. But I have some of the best trending ag online ever. Pull up the graphic. Pull up that. There we go. With Luke Davidson. There we go. First, how cute is this? This is my son Luke at the Landry Poche Strawberry Farm in Holden, Louisiana. Luke picked strawberries in the rain with all of his friends from the Woman's Child Development Center. This post received more than 114 likes and even more aw shaz. Then Luke went over to Ag Magic at the Parker Coliseum in Baton Rouge. Between digging for worms, collecting fruit, and even correcting a storyteller while listening to her read his favorite book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. Yes, he made sure she got it just right. Luke had a great time. And if you would like to have a great time at Ag Magic as well, you can go to Ag Magic on the river at Dockville Farms in Violet, just 15 minutes outside of downtown New Orleans. Schools will be touring May 4th through the 6th, and the event is open to the public on May 7th. And I promised that I'm going to let you finish, so I'm going to let you finish.
Well, thanks for hijacking my trending segment. I get one segment, and you had to hijack it.
I channeled Kanye there a little bit, had to.
Well, back to what we were originally saying before he interrupted me. Now moving on to this week's Twila Trivia. Last week our question was, according to Time magazine, which factor affects the gooiness of the cheese in a grilled cheese sandwich? And the correct answer is C, the cheese pH level. This week's trivia question is, roosters perform a dance and make sounds to attract the attention of female chickens. What is this called? Is it A, doodle dance, B, waddle walk, or C, tidbitting? To enter this week's trending trivia contest, simply log on to your Facebook or Twitter account and post your answer with the hashtag TWILA Trivia, or you can always submit your answer on our website at twilatv.org.
I promise I won't interrupt again. Thanks, Kristen. Well, that does it for this edition of TWILA. Be sure to join us next week when we'll show you how the NRCS is helping migratory birds.
Until then, you can watch all of our stories online on our website, twilatv.org, and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter.
For all of us here at TWILA, thank you for joining us. We hope to see you again right here next week.